There's a lot of people looking for gas and diesel down in South Florida, and they're not finding any. Fuel shortage is absolutely extreme in Broward and Miami-Dade counties and other counties in the surrounding area. Most of the gas stations are reporting no gas, no diesel. People trying to fill up their cars are having to resort to social media to try to find out where there might be gas, but oftentimes by the time they get there, it's gone already. We're going to be talking about the fuel shortage there, what triggered it, how long it's going to last. So if you're in those areas and you're trying to find some information, you will get some information here about that. If you're outside the areas affected, I want you to see how quickly and how totally dependent we are on these things and how quickly it can devolve because the plans are not in place. And supply can dry up very quickly with just a few incidents happening. Of course, they got hammered with a lot of rain last week, and a lot of things are still not operating correctly. And we're going to be talking about what's happening with the fuel terminal that's right offshore from there and kind of how trucks are moving and all that kind of stuff. This video is brought to you by Genesis Gold. If you have stocks and bonds in your retirement portfolio and you're not so sure you should be in that still, with stocks and bonds up a bit right now, might be a good time to transition over to physical gold, physical silver to protect your retirement. If you want to do that, talk to Jonathan and his team at Genesis Gold. You can find them down in the description down below. I'll also put a card on the screen at the end of the video if you can't find the description. All right, so the mayor of Broward said, quote, "No need to rush to the pumps." And if you're anything like me, you know that government officials telling you not to panic is the first sign that you might need to. Situations where everything is under control, they will calmly explain to you why things are under control. But when they start telling you calm down and don't panic, that's when you know things are bad. And unfortunately, in those areas down in South Florida, things are pretty bad. Over the weekend, people have really started to organize on social media in order to try to figure out where they can get gas, where they can get diesel. This is day 5 of this crisis. So we're not talking about a crisis that, something might happen. No, folks, it is happening, and people are really having to deal with this down there. And if you're in the area, you know this is a very big deal. If you're not in the area, this may be the first thing you're hearing about it because, when you have certain presidents in office, you don't hear any bad news. And when you have other presidents, you hear only bad news. Well, I try to balance things out here a little bit for you. Well, so this gas and diesel shortage is basically an issue. They got a lot of rain. They got over a foot in most areas down there and up to 2 feet in some areas, or close to 2 feet in some areas. And that's really not good for, if you know anything about Florida, it's flat. There's no hills. So there wasn't like channels of water going places, just everything got inundated. And one of the things that really got inundated was Port Everglades. Now, because they have fuel tankers coming in, gasoline and diesel being offloaded directly from tankers to the port, they don't usually keep that big of a stockpile. But in addition to that, the port is operating at diminished capacity. Now, they are starting to get the port operating back up again, but there's some serious issues. They said that there's definitely not a fuel issue. They have plenty of fuel. The problem is they can't move it out of the terminals onto the trucks, and they can't move the trucks to the gas stations. So if you drive up to the terminal, you can get plenty of gas. Of course, they won't let you do that, but they were shut down for a time, and a lot of the pumps at the terminals are still not functioning. Now they have right now they have 3 tankers offloading fuel right now. That's the word from today. And they have 5 more tankers waiting offshore to unload their fuel. They got a whole bunch of fuel in these in the terminals at the port, but the problem is they can't get it out of those terminals into the trucks. So basically, Normally, they have about 1,200 trucks per day that come in and out of the terminal to pick up fuel and to deliver fuel. Over the last number of days, it's only still been about 600 trucks. So, is there a shortage of fuel out there? Well, if there's only half as many trucks going out, you don't need to be a math genius to figure out if half as many trucks, that means half as much gas, half as much diesel is moving. And people are still driving the same amount. So, yes, there is absolutely a shortage. Why are they not sending more trucks then? Well, basically, of the... I lost my place here. Of the 12 terminals at the port, only 7 are currently operating. And these are private terminals, so different companies own them. So some companies can't get their fuel out of their storage. So they're not sending their trucks because they can't until they get the pumps operating on the storage tanks themselves. There's no sense sending a truck to sit there and wait, right? So what they're doing is some of them are trying to truck gas and diesel in from outside. So they're sending those trucks out to go pick it up much, much further away. And that's, takes a lot longer, and they're not getting as much in. Until they can get those pumps operating, basically these areas are kind of dead in the water. So there is fuel coming out, but it is slow, and the real pinch point is those pumps. Now, you can have all the gas in the world stored up, but if the infrastructure that supports those tanks goes down, you can't do anything about it. Now, I don't know how much of this is going to work out to where these companies are going to start purchasing gas from other companies' terminals and trying to use the operating terminals to do that, or if those companies just don't want to help each other out at this point. But that's kind of what's going on in South Florida. Hopefully they get those pumps operating soon and get the trucks out there. Of course, once you get a backlog like this, it's very hard to catch up. So everyone's going to have to work a whole lot of overtime. A lot of trucks are going to have to work overtime. They're going to have to bring in more trucks and more truckers from outside the area to try to catch up on this. If you're in South Florida, hopefully you have gas stockpiled. If you're not in South Florida, here's the question. What could happen in your area suddenly that you will need gas and you won't be able to get it? Or you're going to need diesel and you're not going to be able to get it. Do you have a little bit of a stockpile of gas and diesel at home? Because that's a pretty wise thing to do in this day and age. Who knows when the next pipeline is going to stop operating or a cyber attack is going to happen. Friends, having some gas and diesel on hand in storage containers, make sure you rotate that stuff. It doesn't stay forever. You can put some stabilizers in there to make it a little better, but it's still going to need to be rotated, and you're going to have to keep checking in on it. You can look up videos to figure out how to do that, but the point is you need to do that. You need to have some gas stored up. If you need to depend on your car at all for anything, that's wisdom right there. Also, if you're going to use that to run your generators or anything like that, make sure you have it for that as well. I recommend propane whenever you can, just because that just makes things, it stores indefinitely. That's really nice. But it is a little more expensive, and it's a little harder to stockpile. So, all right, folks, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video, there's one right up here. I am putting the Genesis Gold card right here, so you can click right there and go straight to their website. Let them know you came from over here, and they will waive the setup fee for your IRA conversion. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching. This is Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.